Hello and welcome. I am Excellent and this is my channel. Today we're going to talk about some strange places where dead bodies have been found. Before we get started, if you would please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my channel to be recommended, which helps my views. And if you are not already subscribed, if you would do so, I would really appreciate that too. Alright, let's get into this, shall we? So in January of 2009, authorities in Detroit recovered the body of a man frozen in ice. He was in the elevator shaft of an empty former Detroit public school book repository. Investigators said that they thought the body was there for several months. The man's name and the cause of his death are still unknown. The Roosevelt warehouse was bought by the Ford Motor Company along with an abandoned Michigan Central Depot on the west side of Detroit. It was located near 14th Street and Michigan Avenue, and it burned down in 1987, destroying supplies for many Detroit children. The building was eventually sold to Mattie Marone, the trucking and real estate mogul, and is the largest private property owner in the state of Michigan. Many of the city homeless men lived in that warehouse, and at the time it was estimated that at least 19,000 homeless people were living on the streets in Detroit, which is about 1 in 50 people. This story started with a phone call made by a man to a reporter who said that his friend found a dead body in the elevator shaft. The caller's friend was an urban explorer in the ruins of Detroit. In January of 2019, he was playing hockey with a group of other explorers on the frozen water that had collected in the basement of the old Roosevelt building. They spotted the body in the elevator, but none of the men called the police, and they continued their hockey game, of course. The unknown caller is quoted as saying he's encased in ice except for his legs, which are sticking out like popsicle sticks. The reporter said, "Why didn't your friend call the police?" The unknown caller said he was trespassing and didn't want to get in trouble. So before he reported on this tip, the reporter went to check on it and see if it was a hoax maybe. In the well of the cargo elevator, 2 feet were sticking out of the ice. Closer inspection revealed that the rest of the body was encased in 2 to 3 feet of ice. The body was prostrate and suspended into the ice. The hem of a beige jacket could be made out, as well as the cuffs of his blue jeans. The socks were relatively clean and white, and the left shoe on the body was worn at the heel, but carried new laces. Adding to the macabre scene was a pillow that gently propped up the left foot of the corpse, making it almost look peaceful. And this next one is about Josh Maddox. On May 8th of 2008, Josh Maddox, who was 18 years old, left his house to take a walk. He was a nature lover, so this wasn't unusual for him. But he was never seen alive again. 7 whole years later, in August of 2015, less than 1 mile away from Josh's house, property developer Chuck Murphy was demolishing an old wooden cabin to make way for 32 new family homes. The cabin hadn't been used in years, and the inside was damp and rotten. Work to demolish the chimney inside the cabin started, and to the surprise of the demolition team, crammed inside the brickwork was a mummified body, which was later identified as Joshua's. He was naked, apart from a thin shirt, and his clothes were neatly stacked inside the cabin. What happened to Josh? Did he climb in? Was he forced in? The story of Josh Maddox continues to stir debate amongst many armchair detectives. Harley Dilly was a 14-year-old boy who mysteriously disappeared after leaving for school in Port Clinton, Ohio on December 20th of 2019. Harley's missing persons poster said that he was born on August 12th of 2005, that he was a white male with brown hair, green eyes, about 4'9" tall, and weighed 100 pounds. His parents were Heather and Marcus Dilly. His cell phone was broken and he had left it at home. In December of 2019, December 31st to be exact, Port Clinton police updated that Harley's family was fully cooperating and they had no reason to believe that they were involved. They added, "Our investigators continue to research the records that we have been able to obtain thus far. The investigation is being conducted by federal, state, and local law enforcement partners." Detective Ronald Timmons of the Port Clinton Police Department said authorities were able to obtain a surveillance camera image showing a person that they believed to be Harley crossing the street in front of his house at 6:08 in the morning on December 20th. That was the last known sighting of Harley. Finally, his body was located inside a chimney in an empty house that was across the street from his family's home, with his glasses and red puffer jacket nearby on the second floor. It is not clear why Harley would go into the chimney of a vacant home owned by another family. The chimney was blocked between the second and first floor, which trapped Harley. The chimney was approximately 9 inches by 13 inches, and the home was a summer home that its owners were remodeling. For weeks, there was a concerted community effort to find Dilly that included a reward fund built out of many community sources. However, rumors also swirled around the internet, and the police chief repeatedly asked people to stop sharing those. Chief Robert Hickman told reporters the house had previously been checked multiple times. We had no reason to believe that anyone was in the house. And that's because it was deadbolted and locked with a lockbox. However, on January 13th, authorities decided to do yet another canvass of Harley's neighborhood. This led them back to the vacant home, which they then re-entered. The house was searched again. There's a quote that says, "We were then able to discover what we believed to be Harley, who was caught in the chimney. His family was notified early this morning, and this appears to be an accident at this time. There does not appear to be any foul play expected. He had climbed an antenna tower to the roof and entered into the chimney," which makes me wonder why his glasses and coat were found inside on the second floor if he had gotten in from the outside. On January 11th, 2013, the body of a male was discovered inside a vertically rolled up mat in the gymnasium of Lowndes High School in Valdosta, Georgia. The body was identified as 18-year-old Kendrick Johnson, and he was a student at the high school. A preliminary investigation and autopsy concluded that the death was accidental. Police said that it was a freak accident and that he suffocated inside an upright gym mat after he fell in head first trying to reach for his shoe. Johnson's family had a private pathologist conduct a second autopsy, which concluded that Johnson died from blunt force trauma. On October 31st of 2013, the U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Georgia announced that his office would open a formal review into Johnson's death. On June 20th, 2016, the U.S. Department of Justice announced that it would not be filing any criminal charges related to Johnson's death, and then Kendrick's family filed a $100 million civil lawsuit against 38 people. The lawsuit alleges that Johnson's death was a murder and accused the respondents of conspiracy to cover up a homicide which involved two sons of an FBI agent. That lawsuit was subsequently withdrawn. Georgia Judge Richard Porter ordered the Johnsons and their attorney to pay more than $292,000 in legal fees to the defendants, with the judge accusing the Johnsons and their attorney of fabricating evidence to support their claims. Our next one. For 8 years, the Graham family in Waukegan in Illinois ran an event for Halloween every October and unveiled their haunted house to the neighborhood, with the event drawing thousands of visitors throughout the season. The event became so popular that for a third year in a row, local police had to set up barricades to keep both automobile and pedestrian traffic moving along at an orderly pace and the Grahams started pre-selling tickets to the event to keep track of their visitors. Hank Graham is quoted as saying, "That's how we noticed that something was off." Hank was the owner of the Wicked Waukegan Haunted House in 2014. He went on to say, "The tickets came up one short when we counted out the receipts at the end of the day. That was the first or second night of the attraction at the beginning of the month." The mystery of the incorrect ticket count was solved when a 6-year-old visitor told his parents that he was very frightened of the old, dead, stinky man on the second level. Hank is quoted as saying, "I heard the little boy say that, and I thought, oh, great. If the kids are getting scared, well, that's the whole fun of it. Every year we add new props. We have mummies, skeletons, mannequins, plus old peeled grapes as eyeballs in a bowl, strobe lights for fog machines. Crowd favorites, I guess you'd call them." Unfortunately, it was not one of our props that had scared the boy. That same evening, 31-year-old Susan Johnston screamed as her children, who she was accompanying through the haunted house, accidentally bumped into what they thought was a prop dummy and discovered it to be an actual dead body. "I told them to be careful as we went through, but my little Grace, I think she touched him and it knocked him over, and his arm literally ripped off of his body. Blood and other bodily fluids got all over Grace's jacket and in her hair, and my son, Ricky, got some of the slime all over his hand. They were both terrified. It smelled so bad when we first walked in, but we thought it was all just part of the attraction. Both of my children vomited right there on the floor." According to police, a 71-year-old man had leaned up against a corner of the building after climbing the stairs to the second floor and had apparently passed away. The police are recorded as saying, "We don't know yet whether he had a heart attack or an existing illness that may have caused his death." An officer, whose name was Allison Garfield, said that it was mayhem after he was discovered. People ran from the building screaming, but not in a good, fun way, as you'd expect at a place like this. To think that someone could live all alone in this world in a way that no one would notice you gone for multiple weeks, and he made a trip here all by himself to have some fun. We didn't notice him ourselves. It's just awful," said Lynn Graham. "We have so many props up there, I guess I just thought Hank put 'em up, and he thought I did." The local health department shut down the Halloween exhibit, but authorities did not file any charges against the Graham family. "It was just an unfortunate accident," said Officer Garfield. "These are just some wonderful people who open their home every year for people to have some fun, and this just put a shadow over the whole thing." Well, I'll say. In another case from 2017, a haunted house in Waterville, Maine was shut down by police after it was discovered that the owners, Maureen and Carl Taylor, were using, well, real dead bodies as part of their display. The Taylors had been running the haunted house for over 10 years. But that year, guests said something was just not right. One is quoted as saying, "I went through and it smelled weird, which I thought was just those fog machines or something. They smelled pretty bad sometimes, but the further you went in, the worse it got. And then there were no fog machines. I walked right past what I thought was a prop body, but when I looked really closely, there were maggots coming out of the eye sockets. I nearly screamed." The Taylor said that they had no idea how the dead bodies got inside, and they had been using the same store-bought props for the last decade. Police said that there were no reported break-ins at the local morgue or disturbances at the ceremony. Police Chief Christopher Davis said, "It's a real mystery, but these bodies just appeared out of nowhere. It's really just disturbing. Last I checked, dead guys do not end up walking away by themselves." Police said that the Taylors were not suspects in any sort of cadaver tampering, but that they were charged with criminal neglect, among other charges, for letting unknown people that close to processed dead bodies, which makes no sense to me. If they didn't know the bodies were there. How are you supposed to keep people away? And finally, in 2009, 25-year-old Larry Eli Murillo Bocata of Council Bluffs went missing while working for a supermarket in Iowa. 10 years later, a badly decomposed body was found by workmen between a gap of about 18 inches between the 12-foot-high coolers and a wall. Larry had been trapped and died there, and supermarket shoppers would have smelled his body putrefying for weeks as they bought their groceries. A weird accident or something more bizarre? I don't know, but nope. Alright guys, thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe so that you know when my content goes live. Good night.